Coming up on today's Locked On Senators. After an overtime win last night in Detroit, the Senators enter the All-Star break on a 6-2-2 run. But is this a sustainable outcome that fans can be cautiously optimistic for the rest of the season?
And it was Shane Pinto that got the game winner. We'll take a look at just how crucial he is to the Sens' success.
All that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 972 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. You can follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where we say hello and let you know that a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bet if your best bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Today is Thursday, February 1st, and Pilsy, I thought about holding that welcome for every second the Senators had possession in overtime, but I thought I might have passed out.
Yeah, that might have been a tough one to do, and it's tough to not touch the puck for a couple of minutes like the Detroit Red Wings did, but when you have a best-in-class showing of the Ottawa Senators, that'll happen once in a while. That was I was going to say that was a Sens game, but not really. Like, that was just a good old-fashioned win by the Ottawa Senators. There wasn't any kind of weird stuff that got them the win. It wasn't like a pesky Sens win either. That was just a good team effort, and especially, Ross, it has to be commended. That was a great team effort when you're down your top defenseman early on in the game.
Jake Sanderson only played 4.5 minutes. No update on him. We probably will have to wait until next Thursday when the Senators are back on the ice after their bye week and the All-Star break. The All-Star game happening tonight. We'll touch on that a little bit later. Look, it's for the kids, it's for the sponsors, but for the fans, it's about winning. And the Senators have been doing their fair share of that. They have at least a point in 8 of their last 10 games. The 2 games they didn't, against the Colorado Avalanche and the New York Rangers. I know the Rangers were struggling a bit, but those are 2 very good teams that really laid a beat down. They each scored a converted touchdown on the Ottawa Senators. So either the Sens win or they get beat out of the building. So interestingly enough, though, the Senators were able to bounce back after allowing the first goal, which was a self-inflicted goal, in my opinion, with not a great pass from JBD to Brandstrom. Brandy kind of trips over himself, and then it's bingo bongo, and it's in the back of your net after a one-time opportunity from Daniel Sprong. But all that to say, the Senators battled back. I thought this was a low-event game in terms of the hype around the situation. Matthew Joseph got booed every time he touched the puck, but really, there was nothing after the whistle. There was nothing really hate-driven in this game. I had some Wings fans being like, hey, we're both teams kind of already halfway on vacation. Were they like, did their lockers look like the POSTCAST with bucket hats and Hawaiian shirts? I don't know whether it's one way or another, but I do know that the Senators showed a bunch of maturity by the way they were able to not only battle back from down 1-0 to then score the next 2 and play with the lead for a bit, but then that Dylan Larkin goal in the third period, credit to him, great goal. He extends his point streak to 12 games.
Yep.
That, to me, is where the Senators of old, of DJ Smith, and of the start of the Jacques Martin rebuilding of this organization in terms of confidence and poise and structure, they would
lose that game in regulation.
They lose that game in regulation 9 out of 10
and give up
times.
the empty netter. Like, honestly, though, like the Red Wings, DeBrincat would have scored to make it 3-2, and then I don't know, David Perron would have scored the empty net goal just to add insult to injury there. But
off a shin pad.
Yeah. Those are the old Senators. The new Senators, they stick with it. They have a great overtime, and Shane Pinto buries it for the game winner. And Ross, the assist goes to Thomas Chabot, who played over 30 minutes in ice time. Those two players were our first two Sens Central standouts on the postcast last night, and for a good reason. I mean, especially, you mentioned it, Chabot, he's often kind of the whipping boy defenseman of the Ottawa Senators, but when he's good, you realize why he got paid the big bucks and why he got that big deal, because he's such a good skater. He's a great passer, and he's a guy he's like the prototypical defenseman you want in 3-on-3 overtime. Smooth skater, can slow the game down, is going to be patient with it, and he picks a spot and places a perfect puck for Shane Pinto to put past Alex Lyon.
Thomas Chabot has played over 27 minutes twice this year. You just mentioned it. He played 30 minutes last night.
43.
When do you think the other game was?
Was it the other Red Wings game in overtime in Sweden?
Good guess.
It's not a regulation game.
Nope.
No, it isn't, or no, it is?
No, it was not regulation.
Then it's got to be Minnesota.
Close.
Nashville?
Monday against Nashville.
Okay. Holy,
so
good thing they got a break.
Good on Thomas Chabot, man. He came to play. He played 27-44 against Nashville and then played 30-43 in the last game. So if anybody deserves the time off right now, it's Thomas Chabot. And you even heard Shane Pinto's like, I don't want time off. I just got back. He's only played 6 games. And in the next segment, we'll break down kind of what he's meant to this Ottawa Senators team. But as a whole, Pillsy, like the way that they're playing, they're allowing less high danger chances. The amount of games where they've allowed under 30 shots against has been eye-opening for me, because that never happened in the past. Is this something where the Senators fan base should be getting excited, or is it just, over the course of the season, you will find stretches where you win a few more than you lose?
No, I think there's definitely reason for Sens fans to get excited. And Ross, I will not stop any Sens fan that wants to get excited from getting excited. You have your fun. I will not rain on anybody's parade, because, look, the Detroit Red Wings are kind of, maybe you could put the Buffalo Sabres in there too, but that's a perfect measuring stick team to be like, okay, where are we really at? Like, these Buffalo and Detroit, those are teams that we should be right next to skill-wise. And they're able to beat the Detroit Red Wings. What, 3-1 is the season series here for the Ottawa Senators? So that's what you want to see.
Not only that, but our guy Matty Perth on Twitter, he posted that the Senators have just dominated the season series going back against the Detroit Red Wings in their last 15 games head to head. The Senators are 12-2-1 against their divisional rival. So if the Sens could find a way to just play Toronto, Detroit, and Montreal over and over again, like, they might win the President's Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, let's I was gonna say bring back the COVID divisions, but Detroit and Buffalo would not be in those, so that's not great. And we don't want to face Vancouver and Edmonton any more than we have to. So take that back, scratch that. But the thing is, Ross, they're able to do this when they can get timely saves. And it felt like Korpisalo was making timely saves. He had a couple of good ones on Alex DeBrincat in tight. I thought that he was playing with a little bit more composure than he usually does. You didn't see those diving, sprawling plays as much. So if they can get good saves from Korpisalo and they're able to build off the momentum, this team's going to have success. And the reason why, Ross, I think this little stretch has seemed more sustainable and hasn't really seemed like a mirage, a facade, or anything like that, is I really thought for the Ottawa Senators to have success, they would be dominating on the power play. Like, I thought that's where, they're going to have their defensive laps. They're a young team. They're going to give up goals, but don't worry. They're going to play a run and gun game, and they're going to make up for it on the man advantage. And they haven't been doing that. Like, that has not, like, almost every win that they've had recently, I can't think of a single one, and maybe you can help me out, but I can't think of a single win recently where you can point to the power play as being a big contributor to their success.
Well, the Boston, not a win, but the point against Boston where both their goals were on the power play. But again, that's not a win. So out of the 6 wins, yeah, they haven't produced with the man advantage. And I think we should almost spend a full episode on this, maybe right before they return February 10th against Toronto. Is like, I didn't understand the power play setup last game at all. Having Norris on his strong side and Giroux on his strong side, and then not even having Chychrun as the defenseman who has the bomb of the shot. Like,
and getting
Chabot
Kubalik in the mix was a weird one for me. I guess it's his old team. You're trying to spark some of that energy, but that was a weird decision.
But Chabot is the guy who should be facilitating when you have a guy who can shoot on either wing. Like, if you're going to have both of those guys as the passing options with it, which it felt like it did since they were on their strong side, Chychrun should be the guy up top. So anyways, that's neither here nor there. Praise Alfie, all that. He needs to figure it out, though, over this break with the power play, because it is getting tough to watch. Now, I mentioned that they haven't given up more than 30 shots in a lot of games. Just did the math on that. Had my calculator out. Credit to me.
Here we go.
9 of the last 10 games during this 6-2-2 run, they've allowed less than 30 shots against.
Wow. And Ross, that's so interesting to me, because this whole time I've been touting this theory that, well, Forsberg's been hurt, but Korpisalo and Forsberg seem to have better games when they have 40-plus shots. But maybe they're able to settle into the game a little bit better. And those low amount of shots, you hope statistically, just there's less chances to get scored on. You're going to have a better game. But it seemed like that wasn't the case at the start of the season, whereas now it seems like Korpisalo is able to settle into those games and not let those squeakers by because he hasn't seen a shot in like 10 minutes. So that's a really promising indicating stat, Ross.
And 25 shots against or less in 6 of those games. So they are really doing well. The only game they allowed more than 30 was the game against Colorado. And
they're still putting up big shot numbers. Like, it's not like they're under 30 shots for most games. Like, most games, they're in the high 30s.
They're under 30 shots twice over this last 10-game stretch. They've also had 40 or more twice over this last 10-game stretch. So this is a promising sign for me. Look, the Corsi percentage over this 10-game stretch, 57.3, which would speak to what I just mentioned about shooting a lot and not allowing a whole lot. And they're a +2 goal differential, which I find funny because, like I said, the 2 games they lost, they certainly lost. So let us know in the comments, what do you think is the biggest indicator that this team will sustain this level of play throughout the last number of games in the season? We're going to look at one piece of the puzzle on the other side. Shane Pinto, 6 games into his season. What is making this whole thing tick with him down the middle? That, and then I know that you guys are all craving more Senators hockey. It almost feels like an inopportune time to go on the All-Star break, then the bye week. But let's look at the path ahead when they get back. That's all next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, happy Super Bowl to all of those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday, you got to get the best seat in the house. You got to get all your snacks, your beverages, your refreshments ready, and you got to be prepared when it comes to your bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3, depending on how things go. And not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, that's a given, but FanDuel has so many more bets. Who's going to score a touchdown? How many points are going to be scored? Will Usher debut a new song at halftime? And this is one that I'm loving, and I'll throw a couple shekels on. Will either quarterback catch their own pass at +5,000? So that's big money if that weird play happens. New customers, you can join today and get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Farm to Fork, serving meat, premium meat, and seafood to Ontario, Quebec, and our friends up in Nunavut. Derek runs the business, and he is a local Ottawa man. So support local, support Sens fans, and support Farm to Fork delivery. I'm not telling you to do it just as a charity. I'm telling you to do this for your own good as well, because at Farm to Fork, they know that you want high quality meats, but you want it in a way that you don't feel overwhelmed and where you can control your portions. Look, these meats are vacuum sealed right from the butcher's table, then frozen individually, flash frozen to seal in all the freshness. So then you get your big bulk size farm to fork delivery package, and you can say, hey, we're having dinner for 2. We're having friends over tonight. Awesome. I can pull out the perfect amount of ribeyes just for you. Look, they've got all sorts of grass-fed meat options. You can even check out their grass-fed bundle on their website, farmtoforkdelivery.ca. These are delicious. We have them all the time when we go to Ottawa. My parents are loyal farm to fork delivery consumers because when you look at the benefits of them, they've got entire blogs dedicated to the benefits of the grass-fed beef options on their website, farmtoforkdelivery.ca. You can also, because you're a listener of Locked On Senators, get 10% off your first order by visiting farmtoforkdelivery.ca and using our promo code LOSP10. That's LOSP10 for 10% off your first order. And may I recommend getting the sampler pack for your first order? You're going to get 4 filet mignons. You're going to get 4 pounds of ground beef. You're going to get 6 burgers. You're going to get 4 sirloins. You're going to get boneless chicken breasts, 8 of them. You're going to get 8 bacon wrapped chicken breasts and 8 center cut boneless pork chops, all flash frozen for peak freshness. Non-MGOs, no hormones, no antibiotic, from the local farmers straight to your fork. You taste the fork difference, and you will never go back to grocery store meats. All that for $300? Yeah, that's being prepared at Farm to Fork. So visit farmtoforkdelivery.ca and taste the Farm to Fork difference. You will never go back to grocery store meats. All right, Pilsy, here we are. The calendar flips to February, and the Sens find themselves not in last place in the Eastern Conference. Thanks to those 2 points last night, the Ottawa Senators have pulled into a tie, but they do hold the tiebreaker against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Confetti rains down. The Senators are on their way up the standings. I say that tongue-in-cheek, but Pilsy, look, the Senators just last week were 15 points behind the Montreal Canadiens, right? When they were playing them, everyone in Montreal, they say, even if you win these games, it doesn't matter because we are higher than you in the standings. Well, guess what, all you Habs fans out there? Now, that gap has shrunk to 6 points, and Ottawa has 2 games in hand. And yes, do I have some wagers with some Habs fans' friends for $100 of who finishes higher in the standings? Yes. So miss me with but our draft pick will be better. No, I don't care. I want the Senators to finish higher in the standings than Montreal. Pilsy, these are the little victories on the way to success that I will be stopping at to enjoy the view. But with all that said, the Ottawa Senators certainly find an uphill battle, even to get out of the basement, for lack of a better term. But you think they can do it?
I mean, look, Ross, when you're in the basement, you got to start one step at a time to get back to the main floor. And they're at least on the staircase now, which is nice. Before, they're just in the cellar looking through what supplies they have from being there for years and years, and the supplies are running out. So they got to start climbing up the standings here. And climbing, maybe that's a bit much, but they're working their way. At least, Ross, this is kind of the analogy I like using. When you're digging to rock bottom, at some point, you got to decide to stop digging. And it seems like the Senators have decided to stop digging, and they're looking up. And it's games like these where you have a chance to squander it, and you hold on, and you battle through adversity, and you find a way to win. And that's what the Ottawa Senators did last night.
And that's what we hope they can continue doing. We'll take a look at their schedule on the other side, but Shane Pinto's introduction into this lineup cannot be understated. And don't you find that his off-ice presence is almost as important as on-ice? Every single interview, they ask Brady Tkachuk about him. They ask Claude Giroux. These are the leaders of the team that are being asked about Shane Pinto's on-ice. And the first thing they do is what he does in the room to keep things light and keep things, with a smile on his face and being the contributor to a good atmosphere. I saw Travis Kelce was on Pat McAfee's show yesterday, and they asked him a similar question because he's kind of got that same upbeat personality. And Travis Kelce replied saying, a coach once told me, are you going to be a fountain or be a drain? And Shane Pinto is a fountain of energy for this team. How much do you think his presence is fueling other players in the locker room versus just his ability as a hockey player that we know is production on the ice?
Look, obviously, when you get a 41 game suspension, that's a tough pill to swallow. And that's usually there's a lot of negativity surrounding that. But look, if we can find some silver lining of this, it worked out nicely, at least in the fact that, look, the Sens were down and out. This team was squandering any chances they had to win games. They're going on long losing streaks on the road. Just, it's bad vibes all around. So it's almost like, the emphatic wrestler coming into the ring, the music drops and everything changes. Well, Shane Pinto, that's a guy that's positive vibes. He's coming in. He's got a lot to prove. It's a contract year for him. He only signs that entry-level contract. He's going to want to have a big year to get a big extension. And he comes in and he just hits the reset button on the mood that the Ottawa Senators have. And you have a guy that hasn't been firsthand involved in all that losing, involved in all those tough times. He hasn't had to answer about the losses. And he comes in and he just puts a smile on people's faces, reminds everyone, hey, we're playing hockey here. This is fun. We can do this. Let's get together as a team. Let's figure this out. And I just think even beyond his on-ice performances, which have been great, 4 points in 6 games. He's a +4, 2 goals, 2 assists, one of them an overtime game winner. Like, this guy just brings so much positivity that it's infectious. And the Ottawa Senators are reaping the rewards of that.
Pillsy, I don't want to take away your bread and butter here. Would you like to let the people know what his face-off percentage is as well?
Oh, I don't have it up in front of me, so take my bread and butter. Go for it.
61.4% in the dot.
Yeah, and that's something that we looked at Shane Pinto in the offseason, Ross, and we said, okay, he's got to get back to maybe not the dominance he was in college, because he was like
elite,
the GOAT face-off guy in college hockey, but he's got to bump those numbers up. And that's the thing you also have to give credit for Shane Pinto, to Shane Pinto. We had talked about when it was announced when he was going to come back. We had the discussions. Okay, how many games do you think he's going to play in Belleville for conditioning? Right, like maybe 2, 3, get things going again, and then he gets called up. This guy was ready to go. Like, he was staying in shape. Clearly, he was working on things like the face-offs because it's gone well for him, and he's done everything you would hope, and maybe even beyond that in his small sample size since his return. The team has been so much better since Shane Pinto has been here this season. And Ross, we can even take it back. This team has been better when Shane Pinto's in the lineup, just in general. You have like 5 different iterations of records of how good Shane Pinto is when he's in the lineup with Timmy and Norris, just when he's in the lineup. Like, anything that involves Shane Pinto with this team usually is followed by a positive outcome.
The most notable too is Shane Pinto when he's in the lineup and Alex DeBrincat isn't, because then it just takes out all of last season, all 82 games of it, right? Because
they both played 82.
Yeah, they did. And I saw our guy. We got to give a shout out to a great tweet reply, because we asked, we're like, who is that draped all over Shane Pinto as he scored the game winner? So at ETH's baldness, not sure about the handle. Great tweet though. Shane Pinto still carrying the cat a year later. I absolutely love that. Look, Shane Pinto, he brings so much in terms of the enthusiasm, but for me, it is the on-ice performance. And that line, man, with Ridley Gregg and Vladimir Tarasenko, chef's kiss. It's got a bit of everything on it. You've got the veteran savviness. You got Pinto's two-way game, and Ridley Gregg, just a forechecking machine. The work that he did on that first goal last night to set up the shift for Parker Kelly to touch it back to JBD. So Gregg doesn't get an assist on that goal, but man, he did everything right to grind down low and create that extended offensive zone possession and allowed Ottawa to get the goal in that game. So shout out to Shane Pinto, man. I can only imagine what he and his family went through as he was sitting at home for a number of months. But to say that he's come back and made everybody realize his importance to this team going forward, let's just say I know there's a lot of people out there, Pillsy, who are waiting for his long-term extension to go grab themselves a Shane Pinto jersey. This kid's a fan favorite, and rightfully so.
Big time, yeah. And what I like about Shane Pinto is he's a big, I don't know the right word, proponent of visual exercises. Like we saw that Mendez story from a couple years ago where he had on his bedroom wall something about like his priorities and his goals and how he was going to get to the NHL. That's a good visual exercise just for people in everyday life. You have your goals. How are you going to make these realistic and not have them be goals, not just lofty dreams? And then the suspension, tough situation for him to be in, but he sticks positive. His family helps him through it, and they got the calendar marked down. And it's just, look, 41 game suspension, massive, so much time until you get to play again. Let's just take it one day at a time here. Every day that you finish, you're getting closer to your game, mark that off the calendar. And I don't know, I just think that's a really positive kind of way to go about things. Like, all you can do in life is you don't get to choose what happens to you. All you can do is choose how you're going to react to it. And it seems like Shane Pinto is the type of guy that he's going to find a positive, or at least try to find a positive way to spin through things. And it reflects in just his personality. And anytime reporters are talking to him, you see him on the bench chatting with the fellas. Like, this guy's just ultimate good vibes. So it's so refreshing for Sens fans to see him back in the mix here.
Love it. Let us know in the comments, what's Shane Pinto going to finish the year with? That's a curious question. Could this guy really score in double digits and get 30 points maybe in those 41 games that he's in the lineup? So far, so good. 6 games, 4 points, including a goal and an assist.
I think he gets 10 goals, Ross. Oh, yeah.
Well, let's ask the people. The people are in charge.
Only 8 more.
That would put him in exactly the pace he was last year because he had 20 goals on the dot and he played 82 games. Math guy right here. On the other side, we're going to look at the schedule on the other side of the break and map out February. I know it's more of an NFL thing where it's like wins, losses. Let's see how many wins we can find on the Senators schedule in February. That's on the other side. This is Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. You guys know Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. Look, it's not easy to get your business going, so the 3 best friends made a life-changing decision, and they grinded to have their dream achieved, and now they've got 4 stores in the Ottawa area. If you're looking for Mary J's in Ottawa, you can check out Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell, so they can help you out wherever you live. Mary J's offers the absolute best and newest products in the market, and they're adding new stuff to the menu every single week. So whether you're a rookie and you're looking to try new things and you need some help, or you're a grizzled vet and you already know what you want, Mary J's offers competitive pricing. In fact, they will price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around at a Mary J's location. And hey, you can have the best stuff and the best prices, but you got to have good customer service too. And that's where Mary J's thrives. They have the friendliest bud tenders who are always ready to assist. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan. More often than not, you can find him at one of the 4 locations. So go say what up to Dashy. Ask him about how amazing the Ottawa Senators are and how amazing their products are at Mary J's Dispensaries. So check it out today, guys. Mary J's Dispensaries.
Right, Pilsy. I know. We've got 9 days without Senators hockey, but keep it locked on, Senators, because we've got great coverage for you throughout the week off. I know. Prospect talk isn't on everybody's favorites list right now, but let me tell you, Scott Wheeler does a phenomenal job of selling us that whether you draft 5th or 14th in this draft, look, you're going to get a good defenseman if that's the way that you want to go. I also love the insight. We just chatted with him yesterday. Stay tuned for that on Friday and Monday on Locked On Senators. One is just on the Senators prospect pool. The other is about the 2024 NHL draft. And on Monday, he gets into what Steve Staios was like as the Hamilton Bulldogs general manager. And we're going to try to find if we can see what kind of players the Senators will target in the NHL entry draft. So that's all coming up. Plus, Ian Mendez will join us next week. I've got to get my trivia game ready for Ian Mendez, one of the best in the biz. It will be Ian's 10th time joining us here
Ross,
on Locked On Senators.
I might start challenging Mendez in trivia. I've been nailing the trivia lately, although my Sens encyclopedia does not include as many pages as I'm sure Ian Mendez edition of Sens knowledge does. But maybe we'll do a head-to-head, and you can be like the quiz master. We'll see how that goes. Although
Wow.
I'm probably setting myself up for embarrassment here. Oops.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first, won't be the last. Me too, Pilsy. That's half the fun on this show. Now, also the best potion is delusion when you're looking ahead with the NHL on break, and it's like, hey, so let's map out the Senators' schedule ahead. And look, I don't want to be an alarmist. I don't want to be a hero here, but there's a lot of winnable games in February.
So if you're not an alarmist and you're not a hero, what are you? Somewhere in the middle?
I'm just somebody who's just trying to be positive.
Okay, I like that. Let's get started here. For people not watching on YouTube, we'll go through the games here. Let's just do it one by one. How about that? Keep it easy.
I probably should have changed it there. Let me do this for the good people out here in Ottawa. Take it off of Central Time.
Oh yeah, come on.
So we got the Toronto Maple Leafs coming up. I mean, that's
Dub.
that's one where you have to. Okay, you want to do it like that?
Yeah, dub,
Columbus at home,
dub,
Anaheim at home,
dub.
Chicago on the road.
Embarrassing, heartbreaking, soul-crushing loss. No, I'm serious. Well, maybe not, because I'm not going to that game, so maybe not.
That's a first of a 3-game road trip. Then they're at Tampa on Family Day Monday,
Overtime loss.
and then at Florida the next night.
Either a close one or a, I was going to say a close one or a beatdown, but I'm not sure which way. The Florida games are always weird, right? Like either I feel like the Sens get the best of them or Florida embarrasses them. It's never a close game. So that one, I'll let you make the executive decision on, Ross. I'm not sure where I stand there.
That's going to be a loss.
Okay.
That's going to be a loss.
Okay.
And then
awesome.
This is the part of the schedule that's really interesting to me. They come back for 2 games at the end of February against Dallas at home on the Thursday and Vegas on the Saturday. Ottawa has 1 win ever against Vegas. Ever.
Well, don't skip the Dallas game. That's
Dallas?
a loss. Unfortunately, Vegas, similar to Chicago, embarrassing, soul-crushing loss with Mark Stone scoring an emphatic goal.
If I'm somehow off, that should be one that we circle because we need to bring our 12-0-1 juju to that game.
It's true. Yeah, it would be nice to get one on Vegas at home. Definitely.
Then they finish off the month with 2 road games at Washington on the Monday.
Dub.
And then at Nashville in the second half back-to-back.
Overtime win.
Okay, so you're looking at a schedule where I know you're getting a little out of hand if you ask me, but there are a lot of winnable games in the month of February. Is the moral of the story.
Leafs win, Columbus win, Ducks win, Chicago loss. So we're at 3-1 right now. OT loss to Tampa 3-1-1. Florida loss 3-2-1. Dallas loss 3-3-1. Vegas, depending on whether Ross and I make it, we'll call it a win for now. 4-3-1, and then you got two wins. So 6-3-1. I'll take it.
If they can go 6-2-2 like they have during
like they
this
are right now, that's the thing. That's Ross. When we went through that, you might think, okay, Pilsy's a little delusional here. He's coming off the high of a big win, and there's going to be no Sens hockey. But the Sens just went 6-2-2. So going 6-3-1 when they have a couple softies on the schedule, I don't think is that crazy. And I've been known to do crazy things.
Can't play down to your opponent though. You just can't do it. Like you cannot have a soul-crushing loss to any. You cannot lose the Columbus, Anaheim, or Chicago games. You can't do it.
They're losing the Chicago game.
Can't do it.
I'm so sorry to say that.
Chicago doesn't even have like 3 NHLers on their forward core right now.
Dude, did you not? You were at one of those games last year. They lost to Chicago. Well, but sure, Patty Kane was there. He
scored the game-tying goal and the game-winning goal. He gone.
Okay, I'll save that one. But you do not understand what it was like to be in Chicago for that 5-0 loss. I had multiple big multi-unit bets on FanDuel for the Sens to win by more than 3 goals, and they lost 5-0. It was insane.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't Brady Tkachuk fought Jared Tenorti in that game? Like it was just a complete gong show.
Yeah, it was like when it's like when we go alone, we lose our powers. Because the last time I went in Winnipeg, I got there 5 minutes into the game and it was 3-0. I get to my seat wearing my Sens jersey. I was like, oh, what I missed, guys?
Yeah. How's it going here?
Hey, how are you? Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me are I think we should get into this a little bit, Ross. The Ottawa Senators did make a move following the game last night. Mads Sogard was sent back to Belleville, and Kevin Mandolese brought up. We already kind of had our fun saying huge victory for Mando, getting a week off, getting the NHL paychecks, go find a place in the sun, quickly go to Expedia and get an all-inclusive trip. Mando, have some fun there. But I think this is a good move, Ross, because, and we talk about it with Scott Wheeler, a little tease to our interview, but Mads Sogard needs to be playing games. He can't, you can't have him sitting on the bench like this. He's so crucial to your team, and he's in the window, Ross, like where these are the years where he develops into the goalie that he can ultimately become. And you can't have him backing up meaningless games in the NHL. It doesn't make sense. And before he got called up to the NHL, I'm pretty sure he won his last 3 games, and one of them was a shutout, and the other ones were huge victories where he had a high save percentage and low goals against. So they kind of ruined his mojo that he had going on there. So I hope he can go down to Belleville, find some confidence. And I'm not sure, maybe this is a discussion for later on, but I'm not sure whether I'd want him to be called back up when the break is over or just let him marinate there. But I'm not sure also when Anton Forsberg is expected to be back. Maybe that's what you're about to hop in with.
I think I was just going to say, Pillsy, I believe that we're going to be in a situation where he could be coming back right after the break. Again, unconfirmed. And really, between Anton Forsberg and Jake Sanderson, these are 2 things that Sens fans are really going to want to know sooner rather than later about what the status is for Jake Sanderson. Because like Jacques Martin said during the helmet video last night, they're off until 4 p.m. next Thursday. So I don't think we're going to get any information about injury updates or anything until then.
I said it, and I'm maintaining it. Brandon Piller, not a doctor. I have no clue what's going on with Jake Sanderson, but I just have this feeling it's not a serious thing. He's going to be back. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
Okay. You heard it there, Pillsy. My final thoughts, and it's a thought for you. Where does Brady Tkachuk get picked tonight in the All-Star Game draft?
Ooh,
3-on-3 makes.
I'm not an All-Star Game guy. You recently informed me of how this was even all working, so I'm not sure. But I'll say he's got middle round value because that's a guy you want on your team for the vibes as well. So I'll say middle rounds.
Defending champion too. I believe the Atlantic Division won it last year.
Yep. Better question: which team picks him?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right?
So the captains are
I
Jack and Quinn Hughes.
They take him.
The Hughes, but also Austin Matthews is good buddies with him, and it would be such an Austin Matthews move though in Toronto to pick the Senator. Like that, I don't know. I just think it'd be
that
funny.
Would be Kyle Dubas calling him, being like, Austin, you gotta pick Brady. You gotta take him.
You got it. Yeah, it's got to be the Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes team.
Yeah, boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or else he might rescind all memories from his wedding. Be like, you guys, I invited you to my wedding last summer. That's what you're gonna do. Me like that?
Alex DeBrincat was also there, but I don't think there's going to be much love there.
No.
Or maybe there will be. Thanks for that week back check, bud.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. We appreciate it. We appreciate that. Who goes last? It's got to be either Boone Jenner or Tom Wilson.
I hate doing this. I would throw Frank Vetrano in there as well.
Frank Vetrano's having a low-key decent year, and I feel like his game might be a little more, 3-on-3-esque.
Yeah, okay.
Boone Jenner, what's he gonna do? Like block shots? Like,
hey, nothing wrong with blocking shots. Come on.
In 3-on-3 All-Star, Boone Jenner has 18 points and is -7 in 35 games this year.
Yeah.
And Ovi's done with the All-Star game. He's like, I put on a show in Montreal in 2009. I'm done. So Tom Wilson, who has 21 points in 46 games and is -12, gets to...
no one has points with the Caps. That we were looking at it on our Patreon show. It's wild how low the points are in Washington.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll see tonight. The NHL All-Star drafts tonight. I'm more excited for the PWHL showcase. We're going to hold off on the PWHL report this week. Been a busy week for us, but what we're going to try to do, Emrance Mashmeyer is there at the NHL All-Star weekend. So is our friend Emily Clark.
Yep.
So we're going to try to speak with one or both of them. It'd be fun to get them both together. So we're going to work on that for either next week or the week after. Next week's a weird one because Pilsy's going to be away, but we will be able to get you a show every single day here because it is Locked On Senators, your team every day. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Look, if there's one way to go into the break, it's with points in 8 out of 10, a 6-2-2 record. And let us know as well in the comments what would make you feel like this could be even more sustainable throughout February. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.